Hello and welcome to Waverley Netball Centre. It is the Super Netball Reserves as the Melbourne Mavericks take on the Adelaide Thunderbirds Futures for round 4 of the competition. It's the first time these two sides are meeting each other in this iteration of the Super Netball Reserves. Well, let's have a quick look at the starting lineups of both teams because it's going to be an interesting battle between the two. Goal shooter will be Unique Pallavi, fresh off some minutes in the Super Netball game. Goal attack, Sasha McDonald. Wing attack, Maisie Nankerville. Centre, Emma Walters. Wing defence, Montana Holmes. Goal defence, Jessie Grenvald. And goalkeeper, Chloe Duke. They're, of course, coached by Tracy Berriton and assisted by Jacinta Todd. For the Adelaide Thunderbirds Futures, it is goal shooter Lucy Austin, goal attack Brooke Earlham, wing attack Lucy Denton, centre Lucy Vojvodic, wing defence Tabitha Packer, goal defence Gemma Kelly, and goalkeeper Molly Watson. They'll be coached by Jackie Illman and Jenny Boulay. The apprentice coach for them as well is Amanda Shaddock. Well, of course, these two sides faced off in the Super Netball proper not too long ago, just a couple of hours ago, and you can see, well, and that was a win to Tatanka Gontu. They won by 7 goals, 59-66. Will the Mavericks now in the Super Netball Reserves be able to get the win against the team? Well, there's plenty of matchups to be very excited about. Of course, some huge names from the Super Netball across both teams. Unique Pallavi, Maisie Nankerville and Jessie Grenville all featuring in the Super Netball game, having played 18, 33 and 22 respective minutes, but now also getting a bit of a run in the reserves team. It's really hard to look past the matchup between Mavericks, Pallavi, and the captain for the Thunderbirds Futures, Molly Watson, in goalkeeper. Of course, Jessie Grenvald is a South Australian product. She won the gold medal at the Australian Netball Champs with the then called Southern Force back in 2022. She was also the MVP for that side across the Australian Netball Championship, but now she'll be coming up against them as she's been plying her trade in Melbourne for the last 2 seasons. And of course, plenty of support here at Waverley. It's a beautiful place to watch netball. The umpires for today's game will be Emily Green and Tim Marshall. The reserve umpire is Jada Young. Also looking at this particular as well, it's another place it's really hard to move past as well is that goal defence position. Brooke Earlham, an Australian representative in the 19 under squad, will be coming up against Grenvald, who of course, as I said, had the MVP honours in that gold medal Australian Netball Championship side for Southern Force, the precursor to this Thunderbirds Future side. Well, she will be coming up against Brooke Earlham. So plenty of battles across the court. Lucy Vojvodic, one of the brightest young talents coming through that mid-court pathway. We've seen Sophie Casey play her first full 60 minutes of Suncorp Super Netball today. She's also a bright star to watch, and she will get us underway with the first centre pass out to Earlham, who maybe looks back to Packer. Kelly, Denton. 5, 6, 7 passes now for the Thunderbirds Futures in the centre pass. They put a long ball in, and beautiful space and timing from Duke. Couldn't quite get the full intercept on it, and Lucy Austin slots the first goal of the match. There was remarkable patience from the Thunderbirds Futures there to really move that ball around, and beautiful work there from Pallavi and McDonald to combine. And Sasha McDonald. Her V&L side, the Casey Demons, played against Gippsland Stars earlier today. Sasha, of course, didn't feature given her, competing interest here with the Super Netball Reserves. Her head coach of her V&L side, Casey Demons, of course, Erin Bell, who is the assistant, who is a specialist coach with the Thunderbirds, who's actually sitting in attendance today. So it's crazy how netball is familiar and of course, opposing all at once. It was an important gain there by the Mavericks. Nankerville trying to feed it back out to Grenville. Grenville under significant pressure to keep the ball moving. Walters in that centre position in this game. Swung ball to Nankerville and a hard pass to Pallavi. And with that, the Mavericks take the lead. What we've seen predominantly at the start of the Super Netball Reserves season has been Emma Walters, the player in centre for the Mavericks, playing a lot at wing attack. But given that Nankerville will be here in that wing attack position, she's moved across into centre. We've seen Montana Holmes be pushed back into wing defence. So we have seen Tracy Berriton, the coach of the Mavericks, not afraid to swing players around. They tend to have the full bench of 12 at their disposal. A lot of young talent And of course, Zoe Davies, who plays under Tracy Berrington at the Bendigo Strikers, unfortunately unavailable, picked up an ankle injury, has been missing in the Victorian Netball League for the past couple of weeks as well. She was one of their brightest stars in their round one doubleheader that they had here at Waverley a couple of weeks ago. Down in the Thunderbirds attack end, Brooke Earlham. She tries to invite the obstruction and strong work again from Chloe Duke. She's been remarkable in the goalkeeper position for the Mavericks reserve side to open up this season. McDonald looking for the long ball, had to be really patient. Called for assistance in the reset on the transverse line. Earlham out of play. Nankerville wants to look long. And Pallavi, she set up that high hold to float backwards into space. And this is a great run from the Mavericks. We're looking at the season so far for both these sides. And beautiful work from Tabitha Packer. Well, she's one of the most exciting young defenders coming through Australia full stop, and that is why off the centre pass against a Suncorp Super Netball player, she's able to do that. Pretty sure she's still a teenager at that. She's been representing South Australia in their 19s and 17 side for many years. Very, very exciting young defender. Don't be surprised if she gets put across in goal defence in the warm-up as well. She's doing a little bit of work in the ring when they're playing their little game before the game proper started. Denton puts it in the air. Well, Lucy Denton and Lucy Onston expect that connection to be very strong today. They've played together for some years. Nankerville, just a light touch. And the long ball is a miss from Pallavi. You've come to expect that to be her bread and butter. She actually shot 2 for 3 in the super shots when she featured in the Super Netball game a couple of hours ago. Quick on transition are the Thunderbirds. Beautiful ball and movement from Austin. She'll take a look at the post, and well, with that, we'll level up the scoring here. So it was a 4-1 lead to the Mavericks just a minute and a half ago. Now even at 4-4. Thunderbirds centre pass. Kelly looking back to Packer. And contact called against Nankerville. Long ball under pressure, and you can't do that in front of Jessie Grenvold. Coming up against her former side, so to speak, and the ball goes through the hands of Packer. McDonald, give and go. Walters tries to find the feed in, has to receive it back, and still the work of the Thunderbirds defenders pushing up the Mavericks shooters high. They've got patience to work it around. That's 2 misses from Pallavi in the first quarter. Not a play we regularly see. Too many of those misses from those sort of positions. Of course, we're still in the first 5 minutes of this game. Well, looking at the run in, back here in round one, of course, this competition is being run concurrently with the Suncorp Super Netball, but doesn't mean that teams are playing every week. It's working with how the teams are travelling across Australia. So in round one, Mavericks played the Firebirds and the Vixens in that first weekend of May. Bit of a giggle there. They won both those games. Both those games, they started not so strongly in the first quarter. And, of course, when they played the Fever the following week, the first quarter was the only one they won. So keep an eye on the quarter scores. I'll make sure I'm keeping a hold of that to see if the trends are going to continue for the Mavericks, or if they're able to break that, because the first quarter was the only one they won in their last game. They went to lose to the West Coast Fever Reserves, who are on a brilliant undefeated run to start this reserve season too. Where it has been for the Thunderbirds, they've played 5 games. They're equal most games played. So 2 games in round 1, 2 games in round 2, and then lost last week against the Fever, who definitely seemed to be the team to beat. They lost by 10 to them. So the team from Western Australia really making it difficult. Beautiful defensive work there from Watson. Kelly out of play. Couple books. See Watson just trying to follow the flight, the bulk of the path. Walters with the centre pass, drives deep to the pocket. Nankerville wants to go back to Grenvold. Plavi not quite in the ring. And Vojvodic coming through. Plavi with the long split, looks to post. It's the smoothness of her action. She just flows right through. Vojvodic had to wait, and strong outside arm work. Well, looked to be a not wholly within call. And just the misread of the double dodge there. So sails over the goal line. And under pressure was Watson to Kelly. And something that's been come to be expected out of this Maverick side is they would amp up their zone defense the longer the quarter goes on. So they'll try and wear their opponents down. A smart goal there. Through to Austin. Walters, Grenvold, Packer went flying. Off the hands of Nankerville. Well, Thunderbirds come up with ball. Long pass. The invitation was there, and again, Jessie Grenvold rather. She's an excitement machine. And that was the call. Strong from Pallavi to Walters, and topped up with a wonderful goal. They keep that 2-goal buffer. Denton just so fast off the line with those centre pass. You can see that the box is now the defensive play from the Mavericks. They're trying to keep the players away from ball side. Erlen with the long split. She's been known for her long distance shooting. Austin from under the post takes him to 7. Well, Lucy Austin coming into this game is actually leading the scoring in the Super Netball Reserves. 159 goals at 86% accuracy. Of course, she has been featuring, she's part of the contracted 10 in the Super Netball proper, but hasn't been featuring too much in recent weeks. Sophie Casey has been the player that's been featuring with longer minutes, and who's also been an integral part of the South Australian pathway for some years. Captain of their 19 side. Played alongside Lucy Vojvodic, Tabitha Packer, Denton and Fairwell back as well. And there goes the hooter for the super shot period. So last 5 minutes of the quarter, much like Suncorp's Super Netball rules here in the Super Netball Reserves. And the contact call on Walters. Of course, our coverage of today's game is brought to you by Touchdown Helicopters. Packer waiting for Denton to punch through the middle. Earlham under pressure. Holmes really matching her for speed. Now Austin strongly within that 2-point zone. She scores the first super shot of the game. And levels up the scoring with that as well. So Kelly out of play, just inside the goal third. Long ball, McDonald wants it back. Go for the super shot, doesn't quite reach. And Watson pushes out of the hands of Kelly. So Mavericks throw in. Pallavi now wants to join in the action. Doesn't quite drop. Earlham looking for support. Packer putting it lofty, makes it difficult for Denton, but she does well, and she splits the defenders to find that ball through to Austin. Well, the Thunderbirds Futures take back the lead. They had the first centre pass of the game, and strong work defensively from the Mavericks off that centre pass made it really difficult. Well, it looks like the bench players for the Thunderbirds Futures have been told to go warm up. 3 minutes 11 left in this first quarter. Denton wants to loft it high. Austin calling for it in the 2. Duke flying in defence, and while she's draining them well. They take now a 3-goal lead. Pankavell, Pallavi. Walters wants to play the ball quickly. McDonald didn't quite have her balance set. The front sweep from Pallavi. And she joins in the super shot action for the first for the Mavericks. Both shooters had a couple attempts. Couldn't get them to drop in that first quarter at the start of this Power 5 period. Call there, the offside first from McDonald. And the safe hands of Denton somehow gets a hold of that. Remarkable ability to bring and grab that ball, rip it in. Putting it under a lot of difficulty in this first 13 minutes of netball. Pallavi outside the ring, doesn't even want to look in. Well, Vojvodic out of play will mean that the screen looks like it's being set up. Both shooters really leading hard and fast away from goal. And that's brilliant work from Molly Watson. How about that? The block on the shot. She's a phenomenal player in that gold medal side. Unfortunately did an ACL in 2022. On day 3 of the competition, was still rewarded for how well she played by being named in the Australian squad after that. She featured, of course, in the Team Girls Cup this season for the Thunderbirds future, was an unused substitute in round 14, 2022 as well in the Super Netball. She's been one of the brightest defensive talents in this country for a while now. Is she the answer potentially for the Thunderbirds goalkeeper? We saw LaTanya Wilson star there today. Of course, without Shamira Sterling-Humphrey, the best goalkeeper in the world, is this an opportunity for Molly Watson? Ellen, well, tries to draw the defenders away by looking to post, and again, the long-range shot from Austin and slips through the fingers. Duke will be the player penalised and out of play. Grenfell was trying to cause a little bit of disturbance, and the seconds will tick down. We'll finish the first quarter with a 2-goal lead, the way of the Thunderbirds futures. 12-14. Of course, our broadcast today brought to you by Touchdown Helicopters. We'll be back with the second quarter very shortly. Well, we're almost back for the start of the second quarter. It looks like a couple of changes afoot. So Mia Van Wyck has come on to goal defence. It looks like Jessie Grenfold is currently sitting on the bench. We'll get those changes to you very shortly. Maisie Nankerville as well moved to centre. And Walters moved into wing attack. We've seen her predominantly play in beautiful movement around the top of the ring from Pallavi. Didn't even have an opportunity to put that ball down as she floated across. So Jessie Grenfell has floated back into goalkeeper. Chloe Duke to the bench. Mia Van Wyck into goal defence. And those are changes for the Mavericks reserves. No changes for the Thunderbirds futures as Pallavi slots the first goal of the second quarter. They went down into that second quarter and beautiful work from Holmes. Well, that's what's to be expected from Montana Holmes, predominantly a centre. And now as well, the box in full display. McDonald there to pick up the ball for the Mavs. Walters just setting up shop. Packer just lost her completely. There with the pickup that time was Kelly. And again, immediately the Mavericks sitting into their formation defensively to try and push their players wide across the sidelines, completely clogged the centre channel. And the volume also increasing on the court. Vojvodic, Austin outside the ring, wants to float it backwards. Earlham puts it low. Vojvodic looking for the option for that back hold. And Van Wyck, the height mismatch there. So Lucy Austin just setting the penalty. Takes the goal, gets the first for the Thunderbirds futures for quarter two. McDonald had to be that second option out on the centre pass. The ball was left a little bit wanting from Walters into Pallavi. Got to the target. And McDonald, well, did all she could. Predominantly who we've seen play in this side for the Mavericks in the shooting circle has been Millie Roach, a New South Wales product who made the move down in the off-season playing for the Wilson Storage Southern Saints in the Victorian Netball League. She's been the main shooter for the Mavericks. Of course, Teal Hocking has had a couple of appearances too, but with the availability of Pallavi, you would think this would be the option. McDonald always wanted to bounce that through to her shooting partner. And stay down by one. We did touch on a little bit in that first quarter about the consistency of the shooting, the quarters won, especially particularly first quarters for the Mavericks. They've only won one so far in the 4 games they've played, including this one. They lost those first 2 against the Firebirds and the Vixens here at Waverley at the start of May. They won against West Coast Fever away in Perth. It's been a bit of a mixed bag, but the second quarter is the strongest for the Thunderbirds futures. They've won 4 and drawn the other because they've played a couple of extra games thanks to the way that this fixture has worked. So expecting them to really stamp their authority in this second quarter, going by those pass numbers. Nankerville just being able to lose her player, drive into the pocket. Kelly coming over the top. Lovely long distance shooting from Unique Pallavi. So with that, the Mavericks level up the scoring, 15 apiece. Hasn't seen too many goals to start the second term. Long range swing ball, and Vojvodic almost got away with almost the unthinkable intercept on circle's edge. It was a very impressive work. Pallavi with the acrobatics just to be able to turn and protect the ball in space. It doesn't drop. Watson, fantastic rebounder. Again, the way they are working on transition, Vojvodic sent to the deck. No call made. Did look like the advantage paid for a different contact. Vojvodic looking in. A little bit of a conversation there about not seeing correctly out of play as well. So with that, the Thunderbirds futures wrestle back the league. Nankerville taking out the landing space of Packer. Well, when you look at the players on the court, well, Lucy Vojvodic plays for Matrix in the Netball South Australia Premier League. And of course, that was Lucy Austin's club before she got picked up by the Thunderbirds. Lauren Fruz as well. So you'd think there'd be that little bit of club history tying them together consistently over the past couple of years. And strong defensive work off the centre. We've seen this time and time again now from the Mavericks. They've been making it really difficult. And the ball flung to Vojvodic. Almost wasn't expecting it. Benwick tried to do the gentler option. McDonald did well to stay on court and demand that space along the goal line. Big cheer squad here, of course, from the Red Hill Football Netball Club. Sash McDonald's club, of course, as well. So they've been cheering on lots of red beanies here at the Waverley Netball Centre. So contact. This has just been a very interesting battle to watch between Vojvodic and Nankerville. Forced the match up a fair bit. Again, Grenville. Well, Grenville versus Austin is a smart decision because, of course, Grenville, the South Australian talent. Van Wyck with the rejection. So we've seen two now on Earlham. Earlham will look to go to post. And beautiful long-range goal. Only managed to score the one in that first quarter. Now it's a real arm wrestle between these two sides. Currently sitting at 18 apiece, and again, Pallavi, she's able to use her body to set up high. Protect the space. Well, Charlotte Walker is putting on the goalkeeper bib. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see it change there. I'm curious to see if that means Watson's coming off or what the plan will be there. But Walker, talk about her when if she makes her way into the court. Tasmanian product. Nankerville out of play. Denton just pops that ball. It's a loopier option. But of course, when you've got a player of Austin's height, someone who towers over everyone else in the ring, still can get to the player. And so with that, the balance of play and the balance of centre passes now in the favour. And here comes that change. So Molly Watson off from goalkeeper, Charlotte Walker on. And Vojvodic giving away the penalty that forces a turnover. So Charlotte Walker, Tasmanian player, represented in the 19s Australian squad, is also featured in the 21s squad that had that trip last year. Netball South Australia, Netball Tasmania have created a partnership. And we've also seen that Charlotte Walker is a training partner for the Thunderbirds. So how should we be able to play against an international player and a Super Netball player like Pallavi? Will be interesting to see how she measures up. Molly Watson in the back of play as well has put on the goal defence bib, so expecting her to roll back on after this passage of play is completed in the Mavericks attack end. And strong work from Van Wyck. She's been an excitement machine, really grown in her playing in the past couple of years. Pallavi just setting up well. She's been a real joy to watch as the hooter goes. So Mavericks out by 2. Molly Watson back on the court into goal defence. So seeing some changes across the defensive end, trying to stemmy and stop the flow of attack because of this player in particular as she sinks the super shot to a massive round of applause here at Waverley. They go out to a 4-goal lead, the biggest they've had in this game so far. Long distance shot doesn't quite drop. It's swung back in. Denton has to go around with the long pivot to pick it back up. And Austin, well, she doesn't want to look to post if it's in the one. Nankerville goes flying across the court. Denton trying to draw the defenders away as Earlham joins in the party. It looks like we'll be having a 2-point shot off. It's a big shootout here on a Sunday night. Holmes and Van Wyck just passing it amongst themselves. Walters punching through the middle and then swings it in. Somehow, Nankerville. I don't think it'll count, but the goal assist truly has to go to her for the work she did there to keep that ball in play. Well, Pallavi will have another opportunity thanks to obstruction on Walker. And he's doing so much work in that shooting circle. That was strong play there from Nankerville and Pallavi in particular. Austin outside the ring, neither shooter in the ring for the Thunderbirds. Beautiful long split from Earlham. She'll be in the one. Pallavi just making sure her feet were just in the ring. Goes to the long shot as well. Again, the way that these players are just trying to keep it in play. And in the back of play, we've seen another rolling sub. So Ali Marshall, ball in hand, wing attack for the Thunderbirds futures. Denton has rolled off. So, and that's it from Grenvold. Making sure she lands completely in that centre third. She wants to look long. Holmes. And somehow Walters. Now potentially the ball speed just too fast for the players to settle and get their feet right. Packer. Unfortunately throwing that one away. But the speed, the increase in speed has been remarkable. And well, what about that from Vojvodic? It's been a gripping game, to say the least. Earlham. Oh, more so a pass and a shot. Austin trying to set herself up in the 2. Earlham just hanging by the post. They'll really try and force this around. Austin now directly in front. The first bounce just a little short. So just a tick over 90 seconds to finish out this first half. As it stands, it's a 2-goal lead to the Mavericks. They're down by 2 at the first break. This has been the Thunderbirds' best performing quarter so far in this reserves competition this season. McDonald wants to reset through Van Wyck. The strong bounce from Nankerville. That ball had some spin on it from Pallavi. We'll just see time being held by Emily Green as it goes deep into court 4. But both these teams with a minute and 1 second remaining in this second quarter, you think this is the big breather to try and run out strong in the final 61 minutes of play before we head into the major break. Vojvodic scanning the court, as does Packer. The lateral behind option. And quick As Marshall and Earlham combining. Marshall looking to give the give and go a little bit. Vojvodic wants to look in. Austin has a hand up. Are they looking for the two? Are they trying to level up the score before we go into the break? Earlham. Austin was on the move. She wanted to receive that ball back. A couple of bounces, and again, there's the volleyball work to keep it in play. But with that, the Mavericks pounce. They have the opportunity to control the play here. Mankerville. Somehow, Walters keeps it, hold of it and keeps onside. Now Pallavi. Well, with less than 2 seconds, she shoots her super shot. And we'll go into the major break with the Mavericks up by 4. You're listening to the Melbourne Mavericks versus the Adelaide Thunderbirds Futures in the Super Netball Reserves competition. Of course, this broadcast brought to you by Touchdown Helicopters. We'll be right back after this break. Well, we're back for the start of the third quarter between the Melbourne Mavericks and the Adelaide Thunderbirds futures in the Super Netball Reserves. Today's broadcast brought to you by Touchdown Helicopters. And the same players who got us underway in the first quarter, getting us underway in the third, Lucy Vojvodic. As it stands at the moment, it is a 4-goal lead to the Mavericks. A whole lot of pressure being heaped on there. It does look like Chloe Duke has made her way back on the court. Featured in the first quarter, didn't see her in the second. Mia Van Wyk staying in that wing, in that goal defense position. And while in the shooting end, it does look like Teal Hocking has come on in goal shooter for the Mavericks. We've seen this combination a fair bit in the reserve so far. It tends to be Hocking coming on in the latter stages of games. Well, Montana Holmes has also moved to centre. So all the Melbourne Mavericks players who featured in the Super Netball proper a couple of hours ago off the court. So Nakeval, Granvold and Pallavi all on the bench now. So we think after that half netball, most of them all played over a quarter, so we think that potentially will be their day done. So we'll see how the Mavericks reserves team is able to adjust with those changes. Marshall to really fight for that ball from the 45 is able then to have the safer delivery into Austin as Van Wyk went flying out. Holmes now in centre. Bounce ball to Earlham. Calls on her captain Watson to help her bring the ball down. Marshall. Austin. Fair way out. Ellie Marshall said before when she came on, another Tasmanian product, like Charlotte Walker, who's currently in goalkeeper for the Thunderbirds future side, but Marshall was the 2023 Grand Final MVP in the Tasmanian Netball League. Now playing with Oakdale in the Netball South Australia Premier League. McDonald called for the contact as we wait for the ball. We have quite a few people wait on ball duty. Unfortunately, the one who's close is not sitting in their seat at the moment, so it'll be a long run for Marshall. Nice crowd here at Waverley. Can make your way down to a Super Netball game here. There's a great energy, close to the action, the stars of today and tomorrow. So lovely long range shot from Brooke Earlham. Advantage break paid against Packer. And smart work there from Walters and Hocking, two players that know each other's game well. They play together for the Strikers in the Victoria Netball League. So big round of applause. There's so much defensive pressure in that wing attack position. Marshall almost caught off balance. So what's been so impressive about this game is the ability for these players under so much pressure to not lose the ball through turnovers, to not let it fumble. Of course, must be said, Charlie Hoey has come on into wing defence for the Mavericks as well. So it's another change with Montana Holmes onto the bench. Plenty of changes at the defence end. In the first two games, we saw Zoe Davies and Chloe Duke play 120 minutes of netball. And how about that from Chloe Duke? Her Hawks netball coach is here, as long with a lot of the players in the Hawks championship team who feature in the Victoria Netball League. So good to see a lot of these female sides coming out supporting their teammates, their players. Some good netball on a Sunday night. Of course, Melbourne Mavericks coach Tracy Neville here in the stands as well, so you never know who could be watching here. And beautiful work from Hocking. She's looked very assured since she's come onto the court. She's been shooting at 84% coming into this game, and how about that from Hoey? Well, penalty against Duke, but the defensive work out front. And Earlham, she's really hitting her strides. Now, last quarter, we only saw 8 goals scored from the Thunderbirds. It's what looks to be definitely their lowest quarter scored across any game they've played so far. They've never had a single-digit quarter until this one. We've seen remarkably throughout the reserves tournament so far that the Mavericks are really good at bringing teams to their lower scores compared to what you normally see them. We might not see the highest game. It might be a shootout in some parts, but it definitely won't be one breaking records. It's just the defensive pressure that they put on. You can see Walters there, raise the fist overhead, calling for a little bit of support through the overload on the centre pass. And again, so much work being done defensively to push the shooters. And that was, I think, the first miss for Hocking since she's come onto the court. Will result in a throw-in for the Mavericks, so they haven't quite lost possession. And Holmes, well, ran out of room. Tried to lean on the ball for support. Unfortunately, lost contact with the ball. A lot of deflection starting to take place in this game. Vojvodic waiting for an option to present forward. Austin, and then again the work there from Duke to just try and cut off the angle. She gets the ball. She goes long. She takes it to within 2 goals. 8 minutes to play in this third term. Earlham and Marshall both leading to the same area. The ball, yeah, it's that release. It's almost the movement, the swing in. And Austin, well, she's been shooting very strongly. So going into this game, she's sitting at 86% at the moment. In that first quarter, she shot at 93%. The second, 57%. I'll try and get the two shooting statistics for Lucy Austin's, but only 4 goals apiece in that second quarter for both Austin and Earlham, so it wasn't a very high scoring affair. Heading into the major break, it was Lucy Austin shooting at 81%. Earlham, Van Wyk out of play. She'll take a little bit of a step in. Look for Austin. Doesn't drop. And that is a big win for the Mavericks defenders. Holmes. Well, it's more than just a give and go. She gains a very deserved high five from Walters. Star power from Montana Holmes. And they level up the scoring, the Thunderbirds, but it's just those little moments of magic proving to be all the difference between these two sides. Marshall, well, she had to do the roll off the pivot, the dodge, and she gets it done to get the centre pass. That's how strong it's been on defensively. Again, Chloe Duke positioning there to cut off the angle for Austin, be able to track back to get that ball on the second opportunity. So Molly Watson in the back of play has gone to the bench, and Gemma Kelly has returned to the court, now back in goal defence. So some defensive changes happening for the Thunderbirds futures. Hocking. Oh, the long arms of Charlotte Walker don't stop her. Take back a 3-goal lead. Of course, it was 4 at the last break. So Thunderbirds up in this quarter. And how about that for the run of McDonald's? Well, the super shot horn will blow. I'm seeing both teams, and Gemma Kelly was out of options to just load up the shoulder and hope for the best. And this is when the Mavericks defense really turns on, because what we've seen in previous games is they haven't picked up a whole lot of ball in the early quarters, and then it's wearing down their opponents the longer the game progresses. And miss there. Good box out from Walker. Vojvodic had to pretty much catch it at her ankles. Packer. Again, the congestion, the traffic, and coughed up ball, and Wick there to get the pick up. And contact there from Kelly will let 2-on-1 situation. Hocking wasn't quite happy with it. Hocking has an ability to find space and seemingly lose defenders and just be left alone in dangerous points. Had a couple of opportunities there. Takes the lead out to 5. And now the biggest margin. Can they make it 6? And well, we saw it from Holmes before. She was able to get that run at that time. Just couldn't. Her phenomenal speed just couldn't match with any of the other players in the ring. Well, with that, 6-goal lead now opening up for the Mavericks. Well, this is the second last game within the reserves competition for this part of it for the Thunderbirds. They only have the Vixens next, and they'll be a couple of weeks away on the 8th of June. For the Mavericks, as Earlham looks long, this is pretty much their halfway point. They'll have Lightning next Sunday in Sunshine Coast, and they'll have the Swifts and the Giants in a back-to-back weekend across the 14th and the 15th of June. And they'll be here at Waverley as well. So if you can come down to Waverley across that weekend, you'll be treated to some brilliant netball. Holmes just seems to operate on a level of speed that makes her untouchable across the court. Hocking did well to just make sure that her feet were solidly planted inside the ring when she got that ball proper. And how about that for a super shot? Long distance specialist brings them to 40. And the Mavericks are just having fun. The Sunday Scaries are settling in for the Thunderbirds futures. And the Mavericks are running riot in this quarter. They take it to 9 goals. Earlham. Vojvodic, the outside arm from Duke. Couldn't quite get away. Earlham will take that step in. The closer option of the two-pointer. Swirl around, will swirl out. And Marshall will be there Lucy Denton rather, who's come back on court in the wing attack position. Well, that goal from Ellen will start the run of the Mavericks for the time being. Holmes calling for it. Seconds ticking down, Hocking. McDonald. Well, it doesn't matter now. The penalty's been called, so even if the siren will sound, McDonald will have this opportunity. And we'll head into the final break with the Mavericks leading by 9 goals, 42-33. Of course, our broadcast brought to you by Touchdown Helicopters, and we're going to be in for a flying finish. We'll be back right after this final break. Final quarter between the Melbourne Mavericks and the Thunderbirds Futures. As it stands, it's a 9-goal lead to the Mavericks. Start of the final quarter. Denton really being worn down there by Hoey, and as a result, it's an early win for the Mavericks defense. They've been building each quarter, and it's part of the way they're able to just wear down their opponents. And strong work there from Callie in goal defence. So looking across the sides, it does seem like an unchanged lineup from how we saw both teams finish off that final quarter. See the Mavs bench as well. Plenty to celebrate and take it out to a 10-goal lead. Hocking to Holmes, the movement on display. A quick release to McDonald, who's making short work of the front option here for the Mavericks. We'll start this second quarter with a 2-goal run. Denton, who had a bit of a spell on the bench in the third, but has been remarkably strong in that wing attack position. Oh, and the ball from Earlham gets tangled in the feet, and then here comes the Mavericks on transition. And just clean, simple, beautiful netball. Walters puts the ball in the air. Hocking doesn't quite want to look to post, and Walker tries to wear it down, keep her away from goal side, and that's an important deflection for Charlotte Walker. Got injected in that second quarter. Now Hocking. Take the step in, both defenders out. And the Mavericks will continue on their little run. In doing so, just increasing the difference between the two sides each time. Hocking was out of room. Horses had gone flying and just couldn't quite look for that reset and connect with her teammate. The short options being favoured here from the Thunderbirds futures as they're trying to break through. And again, the long arms of Charlie Hoey. Calls for a round of applause from the fans here in the stands at Waverley Netball Centre. Kelly just trying to do everything she can to match up with McDonald. And add another, so. Well, umpire there just making sure the ball is handed back appropriately. Denton relishing not having out of play. That's in a third. Oh, that could have been some more magic from Chloe Duke. Only within the 1 point ball game at the moment for another 6 or so minutes. There's been no need to rush that ball and rush to post from the Thunderbirds shooting end. Again, the smart there to drag the defender away, leave Hocking by herself. We'll see another rolling substitution. So Molly Watson, the captain of this Thunderbirds future side, coming back on. Gemma Kelly heading to the bench. Denton puts it in the air. It was followed through well by Austin. So 13 as it stands, seeing both teams now hit their straps. The final stanza. And a lot of work also being done. I was curious to see, is it the defensive work being done, or is it the Mavericks all starting in a central corridor and then leading away? They're getting it done. The most goals they've scored so far this Super Netball Reserves season has been 62 in that very first match they played against the Firebirds in this court. Another penalty that results in a change of possession against Vojvodic. Hocking by herself, asking for the ball. Kelly has also come back on into goalkeeper. Walker to the bench, and that was beautiful work from Packer. He's been instrumental in defence and in attack with the movement. Willem. Was waiting for Austin just to pop out, but just powered over the baseline. Really difficult ball for Hoey to control, but she does. Packer gets a deflection, he'll head down the tunnel. Throw in from the wing. Will they look in? No, out. And then 1 foot. McDonald with the offside call against Vojvodic, so passing out and around. And Kelly in the best possible position. So Marshall has made her way back onto the court into wing attack. And how about that for Mia Van Wyck? They're flying through the air, so it will be a goal line throw-in, but at least a long way away from where she was. Kelly on one leg. The bench getting very involved now. Grenvold, Nankival, and Pallavi all sitting there. Marshall didn't want to try and put it into traffic. Charlie Hoey's having a wonderful day out. How about that from Chloe Duke? So with less than half of a quarter left to play in this game, it's still that 13-goal difference between the two. Mavericks just stamping their mark in those middle 2 quarters. Hasn't been huge scores. The biggest score we've seen in a quarter so far across these two teams has been 16 goals scored in the third by the Mavs. But of course, it's the way that the Mavs are restricting the Thunderbirds' futures that the impact is being felt. Hocking, the flick of the wrist brings them up to the half century. They hit 50. 6 minutes 15 left to play. Packer. Marshall looking at left-handed shoulder pass option. Watson creeping backwards. The long feed from the captain to the dual premiership player. That's relying on your experience to get it done. Walters immediately the ball overhead to McDonald, and then that's it from Hocking. So they've been able to score with just 3 passes off the centre. So with Van Wyck out of play, quite deep in the centre third, how will the Thunderbirds? Will be a contact call against Duke and now against Van Wyck. So the ball progressing in the ring through the penalties being conceded by the Mavericks defenders. Austin able to finish that one off. There goes the hooter. That was a beautiful idea from Hocking just to try and flick it off. those triangles on. The penalty made it difficult. And Holmes just immediately knew exactly where she wanted to put that ball, straight in to Hocking. The difference goes up to 15. Well, in that second game that the Thunderbirds played against the Swifts Academy, they lost by 18. As it stands right now, it's 15, the difference between the two. The biggest win that the Mavericks have had so far has been 13, that first game against the Firebirds, but not if Lucy Austin has anything to say about it. Scoring that super shot. McDonald having to get very close to Holmes on the centre pass receive. And that's good work from Watson. Well, that was an uncharacteristic error we've seen from McDonald, but with 56 and a bit minutes played in this game, almost 57, you would think that's excusable at this point in time. Elam leading away from the ring, and Howie! Somehow the Mavericks gain possession. Now the call for patience from their skipper and McDonald. The fight for the ball, the tunnel ball. Watson there with the pickup, and somehow Walters. There's been a game that has had so many twists, and the fight for every ball has rung true till what will likely be the very last whistle. It does look like Layla Simpson might be coming on in that wing defence position. Charlie Hoey had been absolutely brilliant in the 2 quarters she's played so far. The ball just really took the full tour of the ring before swirling out. Big hug and high five between Tracy Brereton and Charlie Hoey, who has been just phenomenal in a wing defence. And how about that from Teal Hocking? Stunning long range shot. Teal Hocking under the post, had the easy option, was more or less by herself, the home alone. Just a bit short to post. Elam looking long now, just trying to potentially even draw the contact. Austin goes for the super shot, takes them to 41. And well, that's what happens when you stay stagnant. It doesn't matter if it's the last minute of play. Almost the basketball dribble and bounce there from McDonald. And 35 seconds left to play in this one. Elam. Van Wyck gives herself the round of applause for causing the confusion but not getting a touch. McDonald out of options for support. And Callie still right on Hocking's tail. Ball put up in the air for Marshall. And flow back now. Can Lucy Austin finish this game with a super shot? She looks to post. Oh, doesn't quite drop. But a strong performance there from the Melbourne Mavericks. Well, they take the win today, a 14-goal victory, 55-41 to the Adelaide Thunderbirds Futures. And, of course, it was those middle two quarters that provided the most difference. And 2 quarters where we've seen the Mavericks restrict the Thunderbirds Futures to 8 in the second and fourth. You would have to think they had plenty of opportunity, but it's also just the way that they've been able to push them out, choose the riskier shot option. A lot of passes had to be done before they were able to get close to the ring. But it was a win to Titania Hantu in the Super Netball earlier today. But in the Super Netball Reserves, it is the Mavericks running supreme. They've kept their 100% record here at Waverley intact. It's been brilliant to have you alongside for the broadcast. Of course, today's broadcast was brought to you by Touchdown Helicopters. Plenty more Super Netball Reserves action to come. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll see you next time for more netball.